I will call this meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council to order and ask that the city clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember McGarvey.
Here.
Councilmember Budge.
Here.
Councilmember Terry is absent. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Here.
Mayor Sander.
Here. And Madam Clerk, if you would read the meeting video recording and playback schedule, please.
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air on Thursday, February 20th at 9 a.m. and Friday, February 21st at 6 p.m. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. A copy can also be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting on the city's website.
Okay, we are now going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. I'm going to ask Diane Rogers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And the invocation, if you will just remain standing after the pledge, will be done by Jennifer Larrett from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Diane. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this day, and we are so grateful for all the many blessings which Thou hast given us. And we are grateful for the great city of Rancho Cordova and for all its citizens. And we're grateful for all of our city staff and for our council and our mayor. And please bless them that they'll be able to be guided and directed into the things which Thou wouldst have them do, and take us through this day in safety. And we say these things in Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And colleagues, I want to point out, Jennifer is working with me on the Cordova High Boosters organization, launching it as a new organization to replace the Cordova Sports Club as a new sort of parent-based sports and extracurricular activity-focused organization.
Great. Well, we certainly wish her the same amount of luck. Wish you all the same amount of luck as the Sportsman's Club had, and the many, many years, decades of service that they provided to sports in Rancho. How wonderful.
So thank you for being here, Jennifer. Okay, we're going to move on to presentations, and our first one is from Russell. And I think we are going to talk about a not new employee. Oh, did I steal your joke?
You did. Good evening, Mayor Sander and City Council members. Russ Ducharme, Neighborhood Services Manager, here to introduce a new teammate to Neighborhood Services, Delise Verdun. Delise has been with us for about 2 weeks and grasping onto our processes and what we do with the city. We're so happy to have her. We're blessed. I just want to give her a couple minutes to introduce herself.
Hello, good evening. I want to thank you for having me. I've been here with the city for a little over 4 years now, and it does not seem that long. However, I'm glad that the skills that I've learned over these 4 years, I can now take and use them at Neighborhood Services. I've only been there a little over 2 weeks, but it seems like longer because I'm learning so much, and I'm excited to show you what I could do at Neighborhood Services.
All right, so you're going to be answering the phone, among other things?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to need your text number, so we all, driving around
Absolutely.
town, and
Some
oh
of
gosh,
you
there's a
already
mess
have it
there.
on
Text
speed
that
dial,
right
I
over.
know.
All right. Well, I don't know how we're going to make up for your loss upstairs.
We won't.
We won't, yeah.
Thank you.
But I know you had something to do with training your replacement, so.
Yes, and we'll continue to do so.
All right. Well, congratulations. It's a very exciting move.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have item number 6, public comment. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. Speaker cards are available in the back. City Clerk is sitting right up here on my right. For items on the agenda, you will be called up to the podium at the point on the agenda when we're going to talk about that particular item. Speakers are encouraged to keep comments to 3 minutes or less and to state their name and community of residence. Under provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any cards turned in?
We do not.
Okay, we are going to go on to council reports, and Mr. McGarvey, you're up first.
I'm at the Mosquito Vector Control Board. I found some very interesting things. The one thing you see on the news all the time right now is that coronavirus, it isn't carried by mosquitoes. Everybody thought it was. AIDS was also not carried by mosquitoes. People thought that was also something that was mosquitoes were responsible for. Aedes aegypti is one of the newest ones also. It's gradually increasing in area, but people are not even thinking about the West Nile virus. The West Nile virus is the one that is still getting many, many thousands of people sick, and people are dying with that. So it's, if you haven't had your flu shot yet, you can still get one, and you should, because it's something that's something that we need to protect ourselves as much as we can. Let's see, and paying attention to the water that we spray in our flowers and lawns and all that sort of thing. It's going to be even more, at least right now, unless we have our weather change drastically. The snowpack right now is a fraction of what it was this time last year. So we're not going to be having all kinds of water unless, as I said, we have another one of those magic marches or something like that. One year we had having those 6 or 7 or 8 inches of rain in that one month. But anyway, it's something you're going to have to start paying attention to is the water around your house, and also when people have they call the Mosquito Vector Control Board because they have mosquitoes, they come out and they expect, well, everybody's just they're going to go spray at every house and just spray. I said, no, they're going to be talking to people because there are so many more people, so many more homes now than there used to be, and they don't have the staff to go to every home. So they'll go and they'll talk to the neighbors in the neighborhood and say, all of you are responsible for each other. You're responsible for your own homes. And so pay attention to what's being done, what's left. If someone's pool still needs to be taken care of, they'll do that. But they can't go to every home. They just don't have the staff. So that's what I've got right now.
Okay, Ms. Budge.
So I have only 2 things to report on. David and I had a really great time at Cordova High with their engineering class. They have applied for a grant, or it's actually a part of a contest, and they were winners in the contest. There were only 20 high schools throughout the United States that won, and Cordova High is one of 6 high schools in California that actually won this first stage of the contest. So now they have to do create a prototype of their project. And they're actually creating, it looks a little rough right now, but they're creating a thing that could ultimately become a vending machine where people who are homeless or on the streets would put appropriate recycling materials into the mouth of this machine, and then in exchange, they would get back personal care products. And so, like I said, it looks a little rough right now, but they plan to pretty it up, and they are very much in high hopes. But we found that that was not the only project they were working on. For instance, one of the kids had developed these beautifully cut sheets of acrylic that are shaped like flames, and it was a staggered, so it's a kind of a new type fake flame. Everybody's got fake logs or fake rolly things in their electric fireplace or whatever. But this is the kind of thing where a light in the bottom will shine up through these acrylic panels, and it will make it look like it's dancing flames. And the great thing about having local kids invent something like that is the fact that we have companies here in Rancho Cordova that they could take it over to and get it manufactured. And they could start off with their own, their own product by the time they even get out of high school, which I thought was incredibly impressive. Regional Transit, I wanted to provide some really great statistics that we heard the other night. They give us all these budget comparisons and ridership comparisons, and historically, the numbers have declined. This is different. For the both the calendar year ending December 31st and the fiscal year to date, Regional Transit has a significant surplus. It's a few $1,000,000. It's not giant, but it's a definite surplus, and it's trending upwards. In terms of ridership, their ridership for October through December was at 7.1%, and in the fiscal year to date, it is still up 5.8%. The change on the system total for the fiscal year is 5.8%. And their uniform crime reporting statistics, their total uniform crime reporting has gone down by 14%. And I know that that specific statistic is also thanks to people like RCPD who are out there helping them. Folsom and Rancho Cordova and the city of Sacramento all have police departments who are dedicated to helping Regional Transit keep the peace on the train. So I know that everybody is participating in this. It's really a joint effort. But the great thing about the ridership statistics, RT took a chance, and you probably all read about it in the paper. They decided to provide free rides to school students. And the numbers of students, the percentage of students riding the bus, it went up first by 40% and then by 75%. And to date, the number of students riding the bus has gone up by 100%. And even though they have all these students riding the bus for free, at the same time, their income levels are up. Their fare box recovery rate and their income levels are up. So this is a gamble that has paid off very well. And it's the first time I've been able to really report something positive about Regional Transit in several months. So I really wanted to share that with you. Thank you, David.
Very good. Mr. Terry is absent, so we're going to Vice Mayor Gatewood.
So first, Mr. McGarvey and I got to go to 916 Inc. The next thing was, you probably heard about Measure A. I have a lot of small meetings with that. Been in groups trying to get lobby for more money and for the politicians to actually listen to the polling that we took, and so we are still in communication with them about it. I'm not in agreement yet, but we're hoping to have something. The issue is that the feds and the state are no longer helping out with our roads, and so that puts us in a really big bind. And so we're trying to do something that's going to help for the next 40 years to keep our PSI, which is how much road between us and the rock is actually left. And I just really want to focus on that and helping out our citizens. Had my first 2x2 with the county. That was amazing because I got all my questions answered, including they may be willing to let us have a sign over in the Gold River area. I heard a yes. Cyrus, did you hear a yes? I'm pretty sure you heard a yes too. So, I think we should just put it up and then see what happens. But I'm pretty sure there was a yes there. I am part of a tech council to bring tech jobs to the greater Sacramento area. And we happen to be part of the greater Sacramento area. There's a lot of big tech companies that are now moving out of like Austin, Texas, and looking for places that people can actually live. And so they go down to Sacramento, and then after they view the pricing there, then they move into Rancho. So the good part is that I feel like we eventually will have our own tech council and be bringing those tech jobs directly here. I met with River City Christian is having crossover basketball. We always support that because that is all That's another basketball program, which I believe is really big in our city, and it happens to be all the different school districts all in one spot, so it's nice to actually see it. One of the kids actually dunked, which scares me because he's my son's age, and my son doesn't, luckily he's on my son's team, so I don't understand it, but he's 6'4", and dunked, 6'4", and
Middle school kid.
and good news, he's going to Cordova High, so going to be a Lancer. Very
right.
excited about that. Probably going to be in the NBA. Don't know how he wouldn't. Met with pretty much everyone is coming out of the woodworks about the Measure A, from the realtors to the rental people. Everybody is concerned about what is going to happen with roads for the next region. So I've sat down with all of them, and they've all heard my spiel, and they all agree with me. So I don't know what that says. Probably that we're going in the right direction. And lastly, of course, I'd like to say a happy birthday to my youngest son, Jacob Gatewood, 9 and full of sugar. And so I'm going to stay at council as long as possible to avoid that. Thank you.
Very good. I am going to eliminate all of my report except for one item. I just want to thank members of city staff and my council colleagues and the public for the expressed feelings you all had with the loss of my mother-in-law about 2 weeks ago. She'd been in hospice for some time, or a hospice-like situation for some time, and it has impacted my ability to attend meetings, and you guys have filled in for me and filled in gaps, and I just want to say I really appreciate it. The couple of you were present at her funeral just a week ago, so that has been a hard thing for my family, but we're through that. She's in a better place. And it kind of renews your faith in community to go through something like that. Because as Linda was saying, at that funeral event, which was held at St. John Vianney, a lot of her friends showed up. And my mother-in-law, Donna Lane, was in her 80s. And she had been in leadership in Sacramento since the 50s in one form or another. She'd been on TV and been a TV producer and won a Cable Ace Award. She'd chaired the ballet board. She'd been on the Sac Metro Fire Board. She'd been on a park board. She'd served as president of Christian Brothers High School, or board president of Christian Brothers High School. And there's probably a dozen other such leadership, junior league president, things that she had done over the years. And so when that community in their 80s came together to honor one of their own, that was kind of an amazing thing last week, because you saw a lot of county supervisors, state representative types have all, contacted us, supported us in one way or another. And it was interesting, as Linda pointed out, to see that sort of historical leadership of the community come together, not just Rancho Cordova, but, Sacramento at large. But I want to thank you each personally for the kindnesses you've showed us over the past probably 6 months to a year as we've gone down this path. So thank you for that. Okay, and we're going to move on to Cyrus and the City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing that I'd like to say is that I was a guest speaker at the North State in Building Industry Association last week, and that gave me a chance to talk a little bit about the projects that are going on in the city, some of the development projects, some of the related to overall the region and what's going on in with respect to some of the policies at the state level. So a very productive discussion. There were also, I was also able to receive some feedback about some specific areas that they would like for us to collaborate with them some more. So I'm taking that information and giving that to our staff. So all in all, it was very good and productive discussion. They seem to be very happy with the city and the work that's happening. And that's definitely a kudos for everybody from the city council and staff for the work, for a job well done. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very good. We are going to move on to item number 9, consent calendar items. Consent calendar items consist of items or matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be considered by one motion. And I would like to separate item 9.5 from the rest. Would anyone like to discuss any other item?
Seeing none, I'll move approval of consent calendar items 9.1 through 9.4.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Budge,
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey,
Aye.
Councilmember Terry is absent. Vice
Oh,
Mayor.
wait, hold on. Was it 9.4, the one that I wanted to pull out?
Yeah, I think you had a question about 9.4 too.
It's 9.4,
Then
okay.
I'll amend my motion, 9.1, 2, and 3.
Okay. So Garrett, you want a discussion of 9.4. I requested a discussion of 9.5.
That's the- Oh, isn't that both
Is
of them
that,
together?
no, that's, I'm sorry, this is the one.
Sorry, David was right, my bad. I'm sorry, 1 through 9.4, we're fine.
9.5 is what you're
Yeah,
interested in.
9.5.
All right, there we go.
That's right.
So we are back to a
Okay.
motion by Ms.
Original
Budge, a second on items 9.1 through 9.4. Want to restart the roll call?
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey.
Aye.
Councilmember Terry is absent. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Aye.
Mayor Sander.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9.5. If you could read that subject, please.
Second reading of an ordinance amending the Rancho Cordova Municipal Code related to Title 16, Building Code, Chapter 16.20, Housing Code.
Okay, Garrett, you want to lead off with any questions you have?
We've already had a discussion with staff, and they wanted to pull this because they have some more. I'm going to let Micah actually talk about what's going on and what the next steps are going to be.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Mike Runner, Deputy City Manager. As you know, this item is the second reading of this item that's before you. We did receive some opposition when this came through the first time. We've received some additional letters of opposition from some different community partners and community members. And so we'd like to actually continue this item for us to have a conversation with the other groups that have came forward. Just a little background, we have met with, and I have had conversations with the different groups along the way. There were some different changes and staffing changes with some of our outside partners that I think made this a little more difficult to move forward as far as in those conversations. And we'd like to basically continue this and have a conversation later.
Okay.
Do you want to continue it to a date certain, or?
It's just a resolution, so we can just continue it on date certain and bring it back.
Okay, so I'll move that we continue this item to what I think is the 4th of March,
2nd of March.
2nd of March, whatever the first Monday in March is.
And
Go ahead, Adam.
do you want to continue for reintroduction, or?
No, actually, we'd like to just not have a continued date certain and just bring it back when
Because it's a
after the
second reading?
conversations.
So just move to continue?
Yeah, just continue.
Okay, then I just move to continue.
Second.
Is that because it's a second reading, Adam, or what?
Well, are you anticipating there will be changes to the ordinance?
We actually don't know at this point if there will be changes to, it depends on how those conversations go, what will come back. So just a continuance right now is good for us.
So it's possible that.
Okay.
It's possible that this could be a two-step process if there are, you're halfway through the process of adopting the ordinance. If there are changes at staff and decide that need to be made, we would then need to go back and
Right,
reintroduce.
it would not come back as a second reading, it would come back as a revised ordinance.
Potentially for reintroduction.
Okay,
Okay,
Got
I
it.
was, so we have a motion and a second? So, discussion on that, I'll be in favor of the motion. But I was interested in the arguments, put forward by both the California Apartment Association as well as the local realtors about business license requirement for each location. I had been under the presumption that as a city, we were operating that way for the past 15 years. I think we were during some period of time and have probably altered that. Because I can remember a debate happening here about whether or not every rental home should have its own business license. But apparently, we have not been doing that, and I'm not sure when that change happened. But in any case, you know, on reflection on that, I tend to agree with the arguments that have been presented to us, and I sort of raised this last time we were here. We didn't have representatives from the Realtors of the Apartment Association here last time when we talked about this. I don't think, do we have any tonight?
No, they chose not to come because they heard about the continuance.
There's another event also going on
Yeah.
tonight that they were involved in organizing, as I understand, so. I will vote in favor of the motion to continue, but I just want to let staff know I'm interested in altering that, and I'm interested in some data about the less than 5-year-old apartment as well. Do we have some data that indicates that's a problem in order to make that change?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. You can call that, call the roll on that item.
So the motion was Councilmember Budge, the second was Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes, to
And
continue.
To continue.
Item
to
9.5.
Councilmember Budge,
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey,
Aye.
Councilmember Terry is absent, Vice Mayor Gatewood,
Aye.
and Mayor Sander.
Aye.
Thank you.
So Stacy, do you think on our little pop-up window, you can make it say aye instead of yes? And nay instead of no?
I don't think so. It is canned programming, but it's possible. We can make the request.
Very good.
I'm still going to say yes.
Well, hers has to say yes, then everyone else has
I'd
to
like
say
yep.
aye. That's good. All right, let's see. We have no consent public hearing items on our agenda, item 10, so we'll skip that. We'll move on to public hearing items. Item number 11, if the clerk would read that subject.
The subject is GLP Stores Major Design Review Project Number DD 9903, located on the southwest corner of Zinfandel Drive and North Mather Boulevard.
So normally we do a staff report, but I believe we're going to do a continuance of this item.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to say, this morning, I sent the planning department a list of issues about the architecture and the design review, and I would really appreciate it, kind of like Micah said, I'd really appreciate it if they had some time to talk with the applicant about the design. It's going into a very major corner, and it seems appropriate to me that that we need something that's not just a big gray box. So, so if my council, if my colleagues are willing, I would prefer to continue it, and probably just for a couple of weeks, if that works for everybody. Okay, so that one I would move to continue 11.1 to March the 2nd.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded.
I do have a public speaker card.
Okay, we should probably hear from that public speaker. Generally, I'm not in favor of dragging this out, but I understand there are some real issues involved here. So why don't we hear from that one
Unless the
public-
speaker would like to come back in 2 weeks.
Paige, she'll come back in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Okay.
that is fine then. So we have a motion and a second on 11.1, a continuance to March the 2nd.
Correct.
And the
All right.
second was, sorry.
Pick one.
Garvey.
Thank you.
Bob.
Okay, thank you. Roll call is Councilmember Budge,
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey, Councilmember Terry is absent,
Absent.
Vice Mayor Gatewood,
Aye.
and Mayor Sander.
Aye. All right, that was item 11.1. We are moving on to regular calendar items. 12.1, we have a presentation. One that some of us heard before, that was very, very interesting, very exciting. So we're happy to welcome you back. This is the Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce Business Outlook and Economic Forecast presentation.
I think it's perfect tonight to do this,
Yeah.
considering that Cyrus said he just basically presented what he and Nick presented to the BIA. This is terrific.
And Diane, do you have the lead on this?
I will start us off, and then I will kick it over to Diane.
All right, very good.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Amanda Norton, the Economic Development Manager here with the City of Rancho Cordova. As the mayor already indicated, both of these presentations were just given at the Rancho Cordova Business Outlook and Economic Forecast, which occurred on January 31st. Generally, that group is made up of attendees of our business leaders, real estate brokers, and any other community folks that are interested in the presentation. Tonight, I'll have Diane kick it off with her presentation. Nick and I will give the one that the city, and we will, fortunately, did not provide any of the ones given by the economists, which are generally riveting in nature, but if you'd like to get copies of those, we can make those available for you as well.
And you didn't wear your shirt
Yes.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was flying my 49er colors very proudly on that day. Somehow in the last 7 minutes of the game, they decided that they were done and the Chiefs didn't, and it didn't work out the way I had intended, but I'm all right now. I've embraced it.
You got over it.
I got over it, sort of.
I'm not. No, not even.
Next year's a new year. So I'm going to turn it over to Diane Rogers, the CEO of our Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I also want to acknowledge the fact that Amanda is a member of our board of directors as well. So in addition to that, Jennifer gave the invocation as part of this year's leadership class. So we're in and out of everything. So yes, very much so. My first comment is to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for warming up the audience. I thought you did a marvelous job. People having to sit there for 2 hours is a long time. If we took a break, we'd never get anybody back. So we try to put things through as quickly as we possibly can.
Well, I've never been praised so much on a 2-minute speech or so, so I'm made note of that. Real short, real good praises, so.
You said it, not me. So the report that I'm giving you today is what we do is work with the city, and we provide a snapshot of the business confidence in the community and an economic perspective as well. We began producing this local report several years ago, and we call it the Rancho Cordova Business Index and Confidence Survey. It's a snapshot of the economic health of chamber members, businesses large and small. We basically use 2007 as our base year and give that, it's a relatively simple process. We give it a value of 100, and we incorporate some US Census algorithms. So I'll put a quick pitch in for everybody completing the census forms this year. The data is measured through the second quarter of 2019. The fourth quarter information won't be available till March of this year, so there is a little bit of a lag. The economic snapshot measures performance using 5 adjusted and equally weighted categories: sales tax, transient occupancy tax, or TOT, the dollar value of building permits issued, employment, and average home sales prices. If you look on that slide, if you take that number of 100 as a general neutral in the middle, we are down just 0.7% as the last one. This is the second consecutive decrease following the end of a strong growth period that we went through the end of 2018. However, overall, the performance is at its third highest level since 2007. And this is a different way of looking at the same information. This is a history of the combined 5 components and tracks the performance of the Rancho Cordova economy from the first quarter of 2007 through the second quarter of 2019. Today's index value is 182, which is up 82% beyond a full recovery when you compare it to the first quarter of 2007. Last year, the index value was at 176, or up 76%. So this year, we've had a gain of over 6%. Now I'll go through some of the individual indexes. The first index is housing, where we measure the average home sales price. In 2007, the price was just over $415,000 here in Rancho. During the recession low of 2012, the average sales price was almost $193,000. That's a 46% drop for the recession. Today's report shows that the average price is just over $382,000, which is up over 100% since the recession, and is just 8% away from a full recovery. In the second quarter of this year, there were 204 closed sales in Rancho, up from 152 the prior quarter, and 242 sales the same quarter last year. Properties are staying on the market an average of 23 days. This is down from 41 days on the first quarter of 2019. And please stop me if there's any questions along the way. The second index is our building permits. For the building component, we measure the total dollar value of building permits issued. This index can be a little fickle between quarters, as it's a reflection of the best time to build versus when permits are being drawn. The value for permits for this report was over $53 million, which is up 33.3% from the previous quarter. The pie chart shows that most of these permits were issued for new homes, followed by commercial and then residential additions. The good news is that the total value is up over $40 million from the recession low of 2011. This index has the most significant growth and is the strongest of all 5. We do pick a recession low for each one of the indexes, so it's not always going to be the same. It just depends on when the low was. All right, employment.
Diane.
Yes, ma'am.
I think when you talked about the building permits before, you talked about the value of the construction in the individual categories. You or somebody did. And what struck me was that even though the larger percentage of building permits pulled was for new homes, the value of the commercial building permits was enormous. I mean, in comparison. And that was incredibly impressive because sometimes we feel like we're not building any new commercial around here, but we really are.
Absolutely. So that's a very good point to make, and we should probably clarify that a little bit more. I
Okay.
appreciate that. So on employment, those numbers represent, and I want to be really clear about this, the number of Rancho Cordova residents currently employed. This is not a reflection of those employed in the city, but of our Rancho residents in particular. In the second quarter of 2019, nearly 34,000 residents were employed. This is 1,000 more than last year, the second highest level since our base of 2007, and a nearly 18% beyond a full recovery. When compared to our recession low of 2010, there are now 7,200 more employed residents within the city. The next index is sales tax. This is the most recovered index we do track. Total sales tax revenue received in the second quarter of 2019 was over $6.5 million, down 9% from the previous quarter and down 5% from a year ago. However, when you compare it to our recession low of 2009, revenue was up $5.2 million. The spike in the graph does show the annexation, because you can see that kind of strange little spike right there, as well as the half-cent sales tax that took effect in April of 2015. All right, transient occupancy tax. This is the second most recovered index, having increased over $1 million since the recession low of 2009. It would appear that we had an amazing recovery in 2010, but the difference reflects the number of hotel properties within the Finger area that were added to the mix. These are the properties just east of Sunrise and north of Folsom Boulevard. And for clarification, that day we were at the Marriott, which is one of those properties that was included in that. We expect TOT to continue its strong performance. We added a new hotel property in 2019, and we expect a second one in 2020. This past year, our 17 hotels accounted for nearly 600,000 room nights and nearly 900,000 visitors to our city. There's no doubt that hospitality is a significant economic driver. And I'll throw in a brief commercial that the speaker for this month's luncheon is Mark Sapoznik, the Executive Director of Rancho Cordova Travel and Tourism, and he's going to be talking about these very numbers and the critical role that hospitality plays in our economy locally. That's a combination of all of our 5 indexes continue to trend upwards since their respective recession lows. So far, 4 out of the 5 components have fully recovered back to their pre-recession levels. And again, it's housing sales prices just 8% away from being fully recovered. Okay. Then the second element of what we do is a business confidence survey. We send out the same survey, the identical survey that we've sent out every year, so none of the questions have changed, so we can compare effectively. And this is a way to gauge the feelings that our community members, our business leaders, and our chamber members have about the economy locally. And that's one of the reasons we incorporate this into our business confidence survey, into our report. The responses are aggregated and a score between 0 and 100 is generated. A score over 50 indicates overall optimism, and one under 50 indicates pessimism. As I mentioned, we do produce this survey twice a year. The most recent survey was completed just this past December. The confidence survey showed that among our business leaders at a 57.3, which is a decrease from 7% of last April's survey. Although leaders remain confident, changes in the level of optimism were reflected in the rest of the questions regarding sales, profits, employment, and local business conditions. The most significant changes were in our state and national economies. Business leaders expect conditions to worsen over the next 12 months. This is a change from a year ago when business leaders expected conditions to stay the same, and 2 years ago when the response indicated a positive outlook. And I just want to reiterate that 2 years ago, we were very positive. Last year, they expected things to stay the same, and now there's an expectation that conditions will worsen. With respect to sales, nearly 2/3, or 64% of business leaders, expect gross sales to increase, while 13% see them decrease. Now, the decrease is not a huge number, but is now in double digits as compared to 5% from last April. With respect to profits, not quite 2/3, or just 61%, expect profits to increase, while only 13% expect a decrease. But again, this is up from 7% the same time last year. Even with some of the pessimistic numbers with respect to profits and sales, 95% of local business leaders have plans to hire or retain the same number of employees over the next 12 months, and only 5% expect to reduce those numbers. So that was very terrific for us to hear. Then the next three questions are regarding local conditions, statewide conditions, and at the national level. So when asked about the future of local, state, and national economies, we found cautious optimism, about 50%, feel general business conditions in Rancho Cordova will be better over the next 12 months, and it is down from 64% in our previous survey. At the state, if you look back and forth, these almost just flip almost identically. This is a significant drop of confidence when we tested optimism concerning what's going on in the state of California. Responses from those who anticipate better economic conditions are down from 32% in April to just 21% today, and that's down from 50% a year ago. And as your chamber, we're very well aware of the damage being inflicted upon us at the state level. Advocacy continues to remain a primary focus of our time and energies. And there's the U.S. conditions. The federal level doesn't fare much better. Only 35% expect better conditions for the U.S. over the next 12 months, down from 45% in April and 56% from last year. All right. So in conclusion, while I'm not the talented one to read these tea leaves, there's no question that we must track carefully all the actions being taken by our state legislators. Your Chamber Government Relations team does monitor and acts when necessary. We also want to hear from you, and this is a plea that I put out to all of our audience, that it's so critical that we hear from our business community to share their examples of how they're being impacted. And for example, AB5, which many of you are aware of, which is the independent contractors, we actually have one chamber member who has lost her position. She provides physical fitness training to seniors, and she's been booted out of her place because she was an independent contractor. So, yeah. So we can boast of a strong economy here, but we do have to continue to watch what's going on at the state level. And I want to also offer my thanks and appreciation. There are a number of city employees that do help contribute to this report, as well as some folks outside. So we're very grateful for what we do, and we appreciate what they offer us. And that's my report, unless you have any questions or comments.
All right. Questions?
It looks great for Rancho. We look awesome, and everything else looks abysmal.
Well, I think we'll be able to see what happens over the next 12 months.
You know, the job numbers are always interesting to me because I've done visits here where we walk into the major employer and we say, so you've got 1,100 employees. And they say, no, we've got 1,400.
Yeah.
Oh, state says last year you had 1,100. When did you have 1,100? And they said, 5, 6 years ago.
Yes.
So the data being so, there's no good data source apparently for number of jobs, which seems crazy. You just have this is like an estimate of some kind.
Exactly. Well, and the jobs numbers do come from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, labor and all that kind of good stuff. So, but it also does reiterate how important, again, the census is going to be this year.
Yeah.
Because those numbers, and we heard a presentation from SMUD today about how that's going to impact business. People don't think of it as impacting business, but it will significantly impact business. It's not just going to your homes, it's all the effect that it will have, so.
I've also seen jobs numbers attributed to Rancho Cordova where they use the 95670 zip code. And so then they exclude our other zip code, and they exclude 95827, which says Sacramento, but is in Rancho Cordova, at least part of it.
Right.
And so you get this small number, and you think, if you just look at the map, you'd realize
And we are
that's
very,
not the right number.
we're very careful about that. When
Yeah.
we first started this, we made sure that all those zip codes were included and it was appropriate with regard to within the city limits. So this is a similar report that's done by about a half a dozen other chambers throughout the state. So it might be interesting to do one up in El Dorado Hills. I'd be interested to see what their numbers are, just as some comparison.
Right.
So in terms of the employment numbers, and you talked about the percent of residents who are employed, you're probably not counting where they're employed, just as long as they are employed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Trying to track that down would be many
Yeah,
thousands
for
of
sure.
dollars. So,
Because we always hope we are building new homes for people who work here in Rancho and like to come and live here too.
absolutely.
It used to be that you could ask the fire departments how many people were working in each building.
Oh, interesting.
They knew that.
Yeah.
there were maps created, and somebody in the room's going to remember what they're called. But I know when we incorporated, the fire department still had that information.
Interesting, I'll look into that.
Because
there
they
might be
need to
some-
know what they're dealing with should they have an emergency situation.
Right. So, well, the good news is we're up over 1,000 from last year,
Yeah.
so that's a fine indicator, I think, too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, and if you know, we do have thumb drives of all the other presentations by the other two gentlemen that were offered, Rob Lapsley of the California Business Roundtable and Dan Cairns with Baird, who did the geopolitical perspective, which I think was entertaining for a lot of folks. So if you would like more information or like that, or if you know someone who would like to receive this report or the others, I'd be happy to make sure that they get it. So,
Super.
All right.
Yeah, they were fascinating.
great, thank you very much.
It was an awesome event, Diane.
Thank you
well
very
done.
much. It was very, very well received, and I'd be
really
curious
was.
also to get your feedback, that we've been told that this is one of the best we've done, and I'm trying to figure out why.
You
what
know,
it
the
was.
speaker, the content of the two speakers, I think, is probably what put it up over the top. I mean, your stuff was great, our city staff stuff was great. But having that sort of really big picture perspective and that whole historical thing that he did,
Yeah.
you know, talking about security, international security, the history of international security, I think that was just eye-opening enough and understandable enough to everybody there to make it really interesting.
Right. Well, we try to have our second speaker be a storyteller of some sort, because somehow 47 slides of the
Economy.
GDP and everything are a little bit much. But Rob didn't do that. He made it much more relevant, much more local. And I think, and for example, my report this year, last year I had to set the stage for how we came about everything. Now I'm actually being able to give the numbers, which I think is more helpful. So it's relevant and local, but it's the combination of all those. But we
The
had a lot of
other
fun.
thing I think about all four presentations was that it was pretty blunt. You know, it was not, you weren't just trying to be artful and saying something or political, as we often, feel like we have to be. But it was just to the point, saying, this is what's going on, this is what it looks like, this is the challenge. I think that's refreshing for people, particularly in this political environment we're in.
I think so too. And as you heard from Rob, they're having to make compromises and figure out how to work with a legislature that's over two-thirds of one party. So,
You've also the way you've grown the chamber is amazing, because the amount of people. Because I remember when we had this and there was no one there, and it was a rough room. There was someone there. It was a rough room. But now, like, the individuals there, they're really the owners and presidents and CEOs of the company, and so it's nice to see that kind of people. I mean, it was sitting room only. And even that was taken. Like, the seats were sold out. Like, people were buying seats that weren't even planning to come. They're like, let me just get 3 or 4. Yeah. So that is amazing about how much you've grown and changed the chamber into really the small business point for our city. So
thank you. The event did sell out, and I'm trying to figure out how to add more seats, because as of Monday, we were sold out. But this is, honestly, this is where my heart is. I love this. This is what I think chambers need to be doing and presenting to the community. So, all right, thank you.
I
Kinda
want to agree
curious-
with.
I
I'm
got-
sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Just kind of curious about, what do you expect to get out of the census when it's done? How is the chamber going to benefit from numbers that this chamber, that the census will come up with?
Well, the census is going to indicate, I mean, obviously, it's counting people, but it's also getting demographic information and things about, they are talking about where people are living and working, and it's encouraging when companies apply for grants or anything like that, a lot of it has to do with federal numbers. There's a possibility that California could lose up to 3 members of Congress, which will have a dramatic impact on us. And it's the numbers that we use to do reapportionment and other things about how we gather and are able to allocate things to our community. And whether it's allocated to the business community or the residential community, it still has an impact. So we're going to be doing a lot of work about getting information out in staff rooms and break rooms about encouraging people to participate in the census and the details that go along with that. But they're making a very specific business push this year, so.
But I want to agree with David. Looking at my notes, the 2 speakers were absolutely fascinating. And we've had some really good speakers in the past. We've had 2 economists, one of whom did make some political errors at one point, so I wasn't invited back again. But we've had 2 really good economists speak to us, and it's great. And they are relatively entertaining, considering it's aimed at accountants. But the 2 guys this year were completely different.
Right.
And both were good storytellers.
Right.
I realize those kind of people don't fall off the trees all the time, but this was really good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And if you do come across someone, please don't hesitate to let us know, because I think you're absolutely right about the storytelling. Because one of the reasons that we put the slides on the thumb drive for you is so that I get to see them before they actually go up on the screen. And at certain points, I've actually reduced people by about 20 or 30 slides, because that's not what the audience needs to hear or see. So we have some control over it. But if you do come across, for example, Rob Lapsley's I was down in Los Angeles at the advocacy group for the hotel and tourism industry, and his surrogate gave a very similar talk, and I thought, that's what we need to hear up north.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the good thing about the geopolitical guy, what we get from United States media can be vastly different than what's actually going on around the world, and simply doesn't tell the story of how the United States fits into the rest of the world.
Right.
And as David said, using the word blunt, he was very blunt about that and the history of how we got to where we are today and why we need to all know that.
So when he started with 13th century, I did get a little nervous because I thought we might be going through every century, but we were able to get to the current. And now he's talking about what'll happen in 2030. So it'll
Yeah.
be very interesting to see.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
think maybe bringing him back in a couple of years might be really interesting to see if he
Good idea.
changes any of his perspective. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate the support of the city. The indexes are something we do in collaboration with economic development, and I think it works well. So thank you very much.
All right, Amanda.
And again, not wearing my 49er jersey this evening.
49er free presentation.
But here we are. Here we find ourselves. So both myself and Nick Sosa, who is Associate Planner, will be guiding you through this presentation this evening. We'll cover quite a bit of ground that was covered in this presentation. Office, industrial, residential, some highlights and what's even happening in our retail markets. Starting off with inventory. So as you have all heard many times over, the Highway 50 corridor, or really Rancho Cordova, is the largest office inventory outside of downtown Sacramento. We sit at over 18 million square feet of office. So with that, we have about 11% vacancy rate, and this data actually comes to us from CoStar, and this was taken here in January. We've recently had some large lease deals, and so that purple bar is me pulling out my magic 8-ball and knowing some of the deals that we've been working on. I forecast, you heard it here first, that by the end of the year we'll be probably sitting closer to 8.8% in vacancy, which will bring us down. And in comparison, when you look from the previous slide, Folsom sitting with 5 million square feet of office at 4.5% vacancy. So we know that in ourselves and our partners just up the road, that we are an office powerhouse that's actually sitting in here, and we rival downtown Sacramento in many, many ways.
So that number, you don't want it to go too low.
Don't want to go too low, but
At a 5%, I think actually for us, I've been told in the past that should be like 9%. Is sort of like where the floor ought to be for our sort of office mix.
because that way it also keeps businesses, the rental rates are where businesses still want to come in, they can actively get in, get their TIs, move, but it just kind of flattens it out where it's not so much of a market in one direction, the landlords versus the tenants. So this
Yeah.
kind of keeps that a balanced tipping point.
Well, and it probably provides room for them to grow.
Exactly.
Because we don't, just because somebody becomes too big for their current location, we don't want them to have to leave.
Exactly, and that's one of the benefits that we have here in Rancho Cordova is because we have that large floor plate office that even if they can't find space in their current business and we're so tightly compacted, they're still able to easily have a business move across the street or move adjacent to their building in a way that works really well for them as an organization. So as mentioned, we had a few notable office leases that have been completed. The building at Kilgore is formerly a Sprint call center, is now going to be the Department of Justice, and they're working there. VSP Global has been expanding their footprint as well and moved in some offices, again, adjacent to their corporate campus here in Rancho Cordova. UC Davis Health is actively under construction right over here across the street. And then Data Drive, that was formerly the HP data center. It's a data center called Cerulean, which is based out of the Bay Area. And actually, that's one that doesn't pop up on anyone's radar in terms of office space that's been leased, but that is a pretty sizable lease deal.
Okay, so 2 questions. The one at Kilgore, is that at Kilgore and White Rock?
Yes.
The one they've been working on for 3 years?
So
They've put in a fountain and took out a fountain and put in some concrete and took out concrete and,
there was some changes in ownership there, and then they were trying to get the building marketed, and so the same organization that did the Blue Cross, or excuse me, the Blue Shield, bought that building as well, so they had some turnover, and so they spruced it up a little bit to get it on the market, and then Department of Justice is going to be doing whatever they're going to do to the building.
okay. So then the one on Data, that's the one down here around the corner that started off as an EDS building?
Yes,
Rossborough built it back, or leased it back years ago.
and it's got a massive SMUD transformer adjacent to it.
It sure does. It makes a lot of noise.
It does. But the data center loves it.
Well, it will be nice to have them get their grass growing again.
They're working on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, the California North State dorms are under review, and we're hoping to see some ground moving here by the end of the year. Actually, they're supposed to be open by the fall for students, so we're working pretty closely tracking this one to make sure that they get to the finish line. The California Military Department headquarters, which is over 285,000 square feet of office, is under construction. They're moving away around, and that's going to be over 700 to 900 jobs at that location. Industrial. So we combined the Sunrise and Mather areas. So with those combined, we're over, again, 18 million square feet of industrial space here in Rancho Cordova. This next slide's a little skewed in that the data comes from CoStar. But when you actually ask our industrial real estate brokers, they believe our industrial rate sits at 0.84%. What we've actually heard is most buildings don't actually even hit the market. They represent a buyer, they contact another broker, they work a transaction out before these things even hit the market because the industrial market is so tight and intense, not only here in Rancho Cordova, but throughout the region. It's a huge need that we're all seeing. So on that note, we do have a few industrial projects that are in the pipeline. This one is on the corner of Routier. It is done by Fight Development, and they're looking at about 148,000 square feet of industrial. They'll be constructed in a few phases, and that's under current entitlement review. GLP stores, that is the one that we will be continuing to a date uncertain that was mentioned earlier this evening. The Stone Creek Industrial Park, that is over here on the corner of Zinfandel and Baroque. It is about 600,000 square feet of industrial. One of the challenges there is it is in the overflight zone, so we have to be pretty cognizant of uses that are going in there, but that's one we've been pitching quite a bit lately because there are quite a few people that are looking for that space. So Linda, Councilmember Budge, had teed this slide up for me a little earlier, talking about project valuation.
Is this where the number came from?
This is where the numbers came from.
Thank you.
So what this slide represents is not only projects in terms of tenant improvement, dollar amounts that have come through our building department, but also the costs for new housing construction. So across the bottom is the green bars are our commercial space. As you'll see that this is both, there's a few industrial buildings that have been constructed, so you will see that a little bit in that 1819 number. But really, this is going to be a lot of the tenant improvements that tenants and landlords are putting into their existing commercial stock here in Rancho Cordova. So we're seeing on the low end $33 million. And the 1920 numbers, those are only for the period of July through December of 2019. So this is not a full even 6 months of data that was in this factor. And where that's really key is when you see the purple bars, which is the new single family development, which I'm going to pass the baton over to Nick here in just a few moments. But you're going to see that that's why those numbers are so large on that far column. And even in just the residential, there's been over $14 million of tenant improvements done in single-family and multifamily residential here in the last 5 months. So we're seeing investment not just in the commercial sector, but also a lot in the residential sector. And the large orange blob right there in the middle, and the 1617 number, represents the new apartment complex that was constructed over here at Capitol Village. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to Nick.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So as you may have seen around the city, there's lots of new subdivisions currently online and others that are coming online within the city. So we have lots of new production homes. This is the graph that Amanda was mentioning. So this is showing the number of permits issued from 2013 through the end of 2019. So since December, in the past 6 months, we've had 350 new permits issued. And again, that's in the past 6 months. So the 2018-2019 number, that was the entire fiscal year. So we've already passed that number, and we are only halfway through the fiscal year. So super exciting to see the number of homes that we have coming through here. We're very busy, so it's exciting. So this is a map showing current subdivisions that are online. So this map was actually done in November. So some of these have numbers of units remaining that may be near completion or done already. So we have Veranda on there with 128 units remaining. We have Anthology. We have Montelena, Cressley, North Douglas, which is almost near completion already. Douglas 98 is online. Anatolia 4 down there, and Grant Line 208. So, like I said, a lot of these numbers have changed. We have all these different areas building homes, and there's more coming online soon. So, one of the ones that's coming online is Bradshaw Village. This is going to be 55 additional single-family homes located on Old Placerville near Bradshaw Road. These developers have already gotten their master plans. This has been approved since this slide, but they are looking to break ground likely sometime this year, probably summer this year. Rio del Oro, parcel 67. They're single-family homes. They've completed their planning entitlements and improvement plan stage. They will be located on White Rock Road, just past Costco. They are 444 single-family lots, and this is actually going to be the very first construction that'll take place within the Rio del Oro specific plan. The retirement residence. This is a 3-story retirement facility with 149 suites. They are located on the corner of Bear Hollow and Zinfandel. Their improvement plans are currently under review, and they are likely looking to break ground later this year as well. The Ranch is a 530-acre site with 743 age-restricted residential units and 947 non-age-restricted units. They've completed their planning entitlements as of January 6th, and they are looking to break ground by hopefully April of this year. These are some of our other projects that are currently in review. Rio del Oro parcel 66 is currently in their map stage. They're located adjacent to parcel 67 on White Rock Road. That entails 132 medium-density single-family residential lots. We have the Preserve, which is also known as North Douglas, so it's just north of North Douglas, and currently in their map stage, and their EIR is complete, and they're looking, or will be completed in late spring. So that's going to be about 434 single-family lots. Grant Line 220 is along Grant Line Road within the Sun Creek specific plan. That's going to be 619 age-restricted single-family lots and 291 high-density units, non-age restricted. And they are currently in the subdivision map stage. Cassis is currently under review for their mitigated neg deck. And and they will likely not be breaking ground until 2021. But when they do, that'll be 198 single-family lots. And last, we have Sierra Sunrise, which is currently under review with their subdivision map as well. And they have 881 single-family lots and 165 high-density units. So we have a lot of,
Another question.
yeah.
Is that Cassis the one that's on the north side of Folsom, just inside the city limits?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
yeah.
that's, yeah. That one's currently under review right now. So yeah, we have a lot going on currently, as well as a lot that's gonna be coming online later this year, and hopefully into 2021.
So with all the growth in office and industrial and the mic would be really helpful in this part of the programming. So with all of the office and industrial and residential we're seeing throughout the city, bringing in additional retail is fairly critical as well. So Homewood Suites is our first hotel that has been constructed since cityhood. It opened here in January 2020, and I believe they've already have their first sold-out night, if it occurred earlier this month. We have another hotel that is a Town Place Suites. It's on the corner of Folsom and Point East Drive, right across from the Sunrise Light Rail Station. That should be under construction, I anticipate, by the end of the year. And really, as mentioned in our office component, a lot of the corporate travelers is driving these additional hotels and hotel night stays, and we're seeing a lot of that coming forward. Some other industrial that we have, some other retail that we have in the works is we have a new gas station and retail store going in on the corner of Sunrise and Monier. In our Olsen Island area, there will be a new Starbucks drive-through as well as a Five Below. And La Five is an indoor futsal, it's kind of like soccer, facility that is going in right next to Arizona Tile and taking over 50,000 square feet there. And they're actively under construction in that location as well. Adding to our Barrel District, we do have 2 new members that are under construction, Log Off Brewing and Movement, and those should be open here by late spring, early summer, if everything goes to schedule with those. We also have the largest laser tag arena in the Sacramento region, and we have our first axe throwing bar in the region, which is Smart Axe, and they are now expanding into 3 other jurisdictions. So we love when we have a local Rancho Cordova business and owners that are actively growing in the region. It really bodes well for our businesses. As a side note, I actually happen to be fairly good at axe throwing, so if anyone's interested, let me know. We can go. Finally, we definitely have quite a few programs and initiatives that the Economic Development Department provides, our Jobs and Talent Program, Sign and Facade, and Business Incentive. And our new film office that opened this year, they filmed, they don't call it a trailer, but they filmed a little snippet that they're passing through Hollywood right now to see if it gets some traction. They've already expanded their office, and they actually have quite a few authors that are coming through and doing, they're getting interviewed and doing book tours coming through the office as well. So they've been actually getting some pretty good momentum in that location. And on that covers Nick and I's presentation, but we're happy to answer any questions from the council.
It's terrific. Just terrific.
Any questions? Any questions? All right. Thank you guys very much. Great presentation. All right. Do we have any council requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, I'm going to move to adjourn, and I'm going to adjourn tonight using my privilege in the honor of my mother-in-law, Donna Parsons Lane.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.